Brahmana and Vaishnava. The conclusive comparison between Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Translated by Bhumipati Das. Continuation 27. There are two concepts of impersonal philosophy: denial of spiritual propensities and denial of spiritual activities, both devoid of eternal worship. When people consider the absence of the conscious function as the goal of life, it results in sunyavad, or voidism. When they consider the idea that consciousness is devoid of activity, it is called mayavad, or spiritualism without variety. In their ordinary activities, the voidists give respect to the niti shastras, or social codes, and the mayavadis, considering consciousness covered by ignorance as the Supreme Lord, create 5 different idols and address the totality of ignorance as the Supreme Lord. Due to the absence of non-dual knowledge, the so-called liberated mayavadis consider themselves as temporary worshippers and worship 5 gods. Observing their complete absence of devotional propensities, Sri Vyasadeva has written in the Padma Purana as follows. Translation. There are 2 kinds of created beings in this world: godly and demoniac. Those dedicated to the devotional service of Lord Vishnu are godly, and those opposed to such service are demoniac. End translation. In other words, Varnashram Dharma is of 2 qualities: that which is established on the basis of devotional service to Lord Vishnu is called Daiva, and the opposite variety, meaning that kind of Varnashram in which there is no exclusive devotion to the Supreme Lord, which denies his eternal name, form, qualities, and pastimes, and which considers spiritual objects as illusory, and thus recommends the worship of 5 gods, is called material enjoyment prone, adaiva. An elaboration on this verse is given by Sri Krishna Dvaipayan in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.3 as follows. Translation. If any of the members of the 4 Varnas, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas or Sudras, and 4 ashramas, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha or Sannyas, fail to worship or intentionally disrespect the personality of Godhead, who is the source of their own creation, they fall down from their position. In other words, they fall from Daivi Varnashram into the contrary situation of the demonic Varnashram. In translation. The Varnashram, followed by the atheists, or those who worship 5 gods, is nothing like the Daivi Varnashram ascertained by the devotees of Vishnu. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7.11.35 as follows. Translation. If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Sudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification. End translation. If one rejects this process, he will incur sin. The process of assigning designations is that one should give an unreformed person the opportunity to purify himself by the 10 purificatory processes, engage in studying the Vedas, engage in the 6 activities beginning with worship and teaching worship, become situated in pure conduct, eat the remnants of the spiritual master, become attached to the spiritual master, observe regular vows, and be truthful. But if the symptoms of Vaishyas and Sudras appear in a Brahmana who has undergone the 10 purificatory processes, then either he should be deprived of his purified status, or he should be engaged appropriately as a Vaishya. This is honesty. To act contrary to this is selfishness and laxity in following the injunctions of Scripture. From the statements of the Smritis, as quoted by Nilakant in his commentary on Mahabharata, Shanti Parva 189-2, we receive the following information. Translation. One who has performed these 48 kinds of samskaras is a Brahmana. End translation. In Sri Jamunacharya's Agama Pramanya, it is stated. Translation. Those who say that the Bhagavatas are fallen from the status of Brahmanas because they have given up the Vedic samskaras, beginning with the Garbhodana samskara and ending with the funeral ceremony, and have accepted an alternative system of purificatory rituals, are ignorant offenders. In fact, however, the long-lived speakers of these statements are not at all wrong, since having studied the Vajrasaneya branch of the Vedas, which belongs to their family tradition, the Bhagavatas perform their Garbhodana and other samskaras in accordance to the methods prescribed by the Griya Sutras of the Katyayana and others. Furthermore, those Bhagavatas who have abandoned Vedic duties such as Savitri Anuvachana, chanting the Vedic mantras which establish someone as a wearer of the sacrificial thread, and instead observe the 40 samskaras enjoined in the Ekayana Shruti, are properly adhering to the principles enunciated in the Griya Sutras of their own branch, and thus they have never fallen from the status of Brahmanas on account of not performing the rituals of a different branch. After all, if by not following the rules of all the Vedic branches a Brahmana becomes fallen, then the followers of other branches would also have to be considered fallen from Brahminical status because they do not perform the rituals of the other branches. End translation. The community of sense enjoyers who are devoid of devotional service and bereft of simplicity disrespect the absolute truth and can never be accepted by the initiated devotees of Lord Vishnu. In order to maintain their self-interest, the ignorant, ass-like community exhibit envy of Daivi Varnashram, and thus prove their disqualification. Simply because the demoniac community is fallen, that does not mean the Daivi Varnashram community has to join them. The devotee community is always ready to disassociate from the demoniac followers of Vishvarava's son, Ravana, and always eager to associate with Hiranyakashipu's son, Prahlad. The godly devotees of Vishnu also appear in demoniac families, and it is not unheard of for those who are averse to devotional service of Lord Vishnu to take birth in the families of demigods and Brahmanas. The devotees of Vishnu can take birth in all types of families. Yet, if one considers that they are following demoniac varnashram because they are situated in an inappropriate family due to their past activities and birth in a particular family, the Daivi Varnashram community, who are devoted to Vishnu, do not agree. The acharyas of the Vaishnava sampradayas do not accept either the worship of 5 gods by the impersonalist sampradaya or the immature application of Varnashram principles. Due to humility, the swan-like Vaishnavas do not formally accept the symptoms of Varnashram. That is why the Vaishnava acharyas did not always push them to give up their humility and perform ordinary Vedic rituals. When the Vaishnavas are abused by the followers of demoniac Varnashram, pure Varnashram is protected by the understanding that Varna is determined according to qualification. We have cited the histories of more than 1,000 followers of pure Varnashram in the Prakriti Janakanda of this book. Apart from those, many other topics concerning the topmost position of Vaishnavas who renounce non-devotional Varnashram and non-devotee behavior found in the scriptures. Particularly due to their Vaishnava behavior, there was no obstacle in accepting them as initiated Brahmanas. The following of pure Varnashram has not been stopped in the Sri Ramanandi branch of the Sri Ramanuja Sampradaya. Pure Varnashram was functioning in this same way in ancient times. Due to the gradual increase in selfishness and material absorption, the real purport of Varnashram has been forgotten, and a lifeless Varnashram has become current. We cannot call the current system Daivi Varnashram. Srimad Gopal Bhattapad, the Shmrityacharya of the Sri Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has given the arrangement for purifying qualified students of all Varnas through 10 Vedic samskaras in pursuance of the Daivi Varnashram principles. Following his directions, the samskara of Brahmana initiation by qualification was begun long ago and is still practiced today in the Sampradaya of Sri Shamananda Dev, the branch of Sri Nityananda, the Sampradaya of Sri Krishnadas, Navina Hoda, and the branch of Gaura's follower Raghunandana. Moreover, descendants of various branches of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Grihastas who have fallen from the standard due to their indifference to spiritual life consider themselves as belonging to their previous seminal caste. It is the nature of unqualified people to identify themselves as belonging to a low class. Sometimes the seminal descendants of an acharya become bereft of devotional service and think that following the principles of demoniac Varnashram is a constitutional duty. Fearing their social degradation, such people even associate intimately with non-devotee worshippers of the 5 gods. Such exchanges are meant only for fallen people who are indifferent to spiritual life.